Hello everyone, and thanks to Global One Health Symposium for inviting me to present this work. Chile is the longest country in the world with more than 800 kilometers of coast. Stranding events are quite common. However, the 2023 highly pathogenic avian influenza virus outbreak abruptly changed the scenery, setting up new conditions for us and disturbing concerns. More than 100,000 wild birds and over 22,000 of sea lions were killed during 2023 outbreak. To begin our study, we used the statistical process control chart with upper and lower control limits for sea lions strandings from year 2009 to 2023. The red arrow you can see marks January 2023, where stranded cases surpasses the upper control limit, and from that point on, stranding increased exponentially. To the right, we can see the spatial distribution of sea lions along the country divided in three macrozones. 70% of the population inhabits southern Chile, a small group in the center, and nearly 30% lives in the northern macrozone. Interestingly, 93% of the total mortality took place in the northern macrozone of Chile. From a population size of approximately 123,000 sea lions, there was an 18% mortality rate associated to H5N1 virus, with 21 confirmed cases of H5N1 clade 2.3.4.4b, the lineage known for its ability to spill over into mammals. To establish a correlation between outbreak in wild birds and sea lions mortality, we use the spatial distribution diagram. Then, in point A of the diagram, we can see positive and negative samples, red and blue dots, and two high-risk spatial clusters for sea lions in the two light purple circles, and also a high-risk spatial cluster from wild birds in the light brown circle. Then in point B, we can see overlaying of high-risk significant cases from wild birds and sea lions located in northern Chile. And in point C, we can see only a proximity between statistically significant high-risk spatial cluster for wild birds and positive cases in sea lions in coastal areas of central Chile. We finally suggest a correlation between wild birds outbreak and the sea lions mortality. The photos show the unusual mortality event with hundreds of carcasses in good body condition washed ashore during the wild birds outbreak. The next step was to prove the presence of the virus in the animals. A presumptive diagnosis was proposed according to clinical signs of affected animals. Acute central nervous system disease with clinical signs such as nystagmus, paralysis of limbs, convulsions and tremors, and death. Also, respiratory clinical signs like dyspnea, tachypnea, and abdominal breathing, resulting in severe disease and death. To a lesser extent, some individuals only showed emaciation and poor body condition, and death occurred after a chronic course of the infection. Sometimes unusual behavior was observed, such as animals moving towards the desert in opposite direction to the sea, crossing roads and being run over, entering warehouses with people working inside, or some of them just wandering around the town. All animals in this condition were euthanized and sampled for PCR. After euthanasia, Two specimens were necropsied. For necropsy, we selected one male in good shape, showing neurological signs, and an emaciated female with no signs of disease other than poor body condition. Histopathology showed lesions compatible with encephalitis in brain and pneumonia in lungs. Both specimens were PCR and immunohistochemistry positives. This slide is quite important since it delivers the first clue to describe the transmission route of the virus in marine mammals in Chile. As I've said before, 93% of the total mortality occurred in the northern microzone of Chile, where it was found that there was sharing of feeding sites and common prey between marine mammals and wild seabirds. Prey such as anchovies and sardines that are of common interest between seabirds and marine mammals in this region of Chile. This interaction occurred due to the main fisheries operating in this area are pelagic fisheries that extract mainly anchovies, sardines, and mackerels. On the contrary, unfortunately, most of the sea lion population situated in southern Chile, nearly 70%, wasn't hit with the same intensity due to different feeding habits of the species involved. That is, sea lions in the southern ocean of Chile feed mainly upon medium to big-sized fish such as salmons, sea basses, and hakes, which are unattractive to small migratory seabirds. As a result, there was no sharing of feeding habitat and consequently less contact rate between carriers and susceptible hosts. Finally, because of this 2023 avian influenza panzootic in South America, there was more than 50,000 deaths in marine mammals, both from the Pacific and the Atlantic coast of the region. Interestingly, for the Argentinian mortality of elephant seal pups, a different hypothesis for the transmission route was proposed, since the mass mortality may have been through the maternal milk without direct interaction with wild seabirds, since the pups have never been into the ocean so far. Remarkably, the epidemiological data analysis of this outbreak indicates a possible mammal-to-mammal transmission, which is very shocking and of course needs further studies. So far, Chile leads the stats with over 2,300 recorded marine mammals deaths among pinnipeds, cetaceans, and mustelids, followed by Argentina with over 1,800 pinnipeds dead. Let us go into the One Health approach. The complex and intricate relationships between disease spillovers, wildlife, and biodiversity emphasize the interconnected nature of ecosystems, animals and human health, highlighting the need for collective action. Through the One Health approach, integrating different species involved, wildlife, reservoirs, climate change, seasonality of outbreaks, among others. Seasonality is a good point to stress in the context of surveillance. In 2023, the marine mammals outbreak in Chile started when cases in poultry and wild birds began to decrease. As you can see in this bar and line graph, where red bars stand for marine mammals mortality and the black lines for the birds mortality. According to this seasonality, the next outbreak was expected to hit around the same dates in year 2024 or 2025. But nothing was as expected. Stranding of marine mammals returned to normal, positive cases disappeared, and virus wasn't detected in stranded dead individuals. We don't know whether the virus is still circulating among healthy carriers. Today, in 2026, the virus has been detected in Chile again, involving wild and backyard birds and in poultry. Except in poultry, where high mortality was due to voluntary slaughter, so far strandings and mortalities in the wild have not been a concern. Continuing with surveillance, a proactive surveillance by searching for cases in the wild, the poultry industry, and hospitals must be the selected strategy rather than waiting for reports. It is imperative to maintain regular monitoring of wild birds population, especially migratory species, to be able to check virus circulation for genetic sequencing. We must keep robust surveillance programs for commercial and backyard poultry flocks. A compartmentalized, structured approach to disease surveillance will also facilitate management of the disease if it is the case. Biosecurity is a versatile tool to face any sanitary emergency. At a personal level, the use of personal protective equipment is the first barrier to avoid possible self-contamination. Please use strict protocols on this topic. For environmental security, a feasible, practical, and effective way to manage and stop transmission is adopting a strong and consistent biosecurity plan, and in this context, carcass disposal is of primary importance. Sanitary pits are essential and must be ready to be used in advance. There is a practical guide for authorized field responders to H5N1 outbreaks in marine animals, edited by WOA and our collaboration, being a good reference document for field responders. The global strategy for the prevention of and control of high pathogenicity avian influenza virus emphasizes the need to adopt a One Health approach. One Health approach enables early detection of zoonotic disease outbreaks through surveillance systems that monitor both human and animal health, allowing for a quick response and containment measures. The spread patterns of avian influenza has evolved from historically known scenario among birds to a new one with the mammals involved. Both scenarios currently coexisting within this epidemiological situation. However, the focus should be set on the poultry industry since they offer the only opportunity to kill the virus and lower the viral load. The human-wildlife interactions and geographic overlaps must be monitored since changes in one can significantly impact the others and enhance potential transmission to other wildlife species, increasing in this way the risk of spillover. How far do you think are we from a new pandemic? According to WOA, there is a risk associated to high pathogenicity avian influenza virus based on the progressively growing number of virus susceptible domestic and wild birds and mammals, including South American sea lions and elephant seals, a few species of small cetaceans and polar bears, but of major concern is the susceptibility of dairy cattle with the colonization of mammary gland tissues resulting in viral shedding through the milk alongside a large series of cases of infection in farm workers in several USA locations. Thank you very much.